I was following up on the story developing in Zimbabwe. Somebody has gone to petition Chief Stanley to ask that he orders that Mugabe's remains be exhumed and buried at the monuments of heroes. The government, when Mugabe died, had prepared a place, a shrine for Mugabe to be buried at a place designated for the revolutionary heroes. But the family were following the wish of Mugabe, who felt betrayed by people who he had fought alongside with and had taken over power from him. And he thought he would have nothing to do with the Mnangagwa government and those who betrayed him. And so asked that his remains be buried in his village. Now, Leo Mugabe, who is a nephew of President Mugabe, Robert Mugabe, says that one, the chief has that mandate to ask that the body of Mugabe be exhumed because he's not a court of law, and that it is only a court of law that can do that. And so they are waiting for the chief to when they appear, and no one has appeared, no one has served them with notice that they should allow the body to be exhumed. They are waiting for those who intend to carry out the orders to appear before them so that they can ask them to show them evidence of the order. They have also signaled their determination to go to the High Court to challenge the authority of the chief to request that the body of Mugabe be exhumed and reburied. The family have said clearly that even though they do not see the hand of government in this matter, the government could be using surrogates to do that. Because when government wanted Mugabe to be buried at a place designated for heroes, and the family resisted and said on the matter of principle they were going to bury Mugabe at the village, government supported them to do that. So they did not see how government, after supporting them to bury Mugabe in his village, will be going behind surrogates to have the body exhumed and buried in the heroes. Be as it may, the family is resistant. They think they will fight it. They think they are giving expression to the last wish of Mugabe, who wanted to be buried at the village. The wife of Mugabe, yesterday, as I was following the story, the developing story, is not in Zimbabwe now. It's outside Zimbabwe. So they are waiting for her to return so that they can prepare to see how they deal with the emerging situation. But Mugabe, while in office and even in death, is continue to make waves, continue to make news. This was a revolutionary who thought that the whites who grabbed land in Zimbabwe must give back the land to the African people, and that the land was owned by the African people before the whites came. The whites came and dispossessed them, made huge fortune out of lands belonging to Zimbabweans, and impoverished Zimbabweans. He attracted the heir of the Western world, and they all descended on him, just because he wanted social justice, equity to prevail. You don't come as settlers and deprive the people of the original owner, the natives, of their property rights in the land. And so he's left his mark. He's ruled Mugabe for a very long time. The West were able to do a lot of propaganda on him to get people to believe that Zimbabwe was a dictator who did not want to hand over power. They encouraged the military, they encouraged students and the opposition to rise against him and to remove him from power, got the military to bring in his vice president who turned against him and became his arch enemy as leader of the Punch. And now, let's wait to see what story will emerge. And Zimbabwe is in crisis. Mnangagwa is not getting all the economic imperatives right. It could also be a diversionary tactic by Mnangagwa to try to move the people away from the difficulties facing Zimbabwe, because clearly, Mugabe is an interesting figure in Zimbabwe.
Thank you very much, Honorable Inosa Fuseni. Let me remind the viewers that we are streaming live on our Facebook page, which is Pan-African Television. We are also on YouTube, Pan-African Television. So you can leave your comments beneath the live stream, and we shall read them out for you here on the show. Elvis.
Yes, Champion Q, good morning,
good morning
to your good self, and then my two uncles on the panel. I've missed all of you in Pan-Africa greatly. I'm back. And interesting stories. It does look as if, I don't know what has been happening in Ghana recently, but it does look as if we do not have, except for this immigration story by the insight, I really do not see the other topics as being too intriguing. Having said that, I think I will comment briefly on the issues of Robert Mugabe and then the quest for having him exhumed from his village and buried at the National Heroes Shrine in Harare. Robert Mugabe is indeed an interesting character when it comes to the discussions relating both his persona and his politics. Of course, having dominated the Zimbabwean political scene for nearly 4 decades, it is clear that a man who has been able to have a commanding lead of dominance in Zimbabwe landscape for nearly 40 years cannot be taken for a ride, especially so given that he wasn't only perceived as a controversial figure, but in real estimation of whom he was, a great African hero who was able to lead and revolutionize the system against oppressors' rule, against imperialism, and against the forces of colonialism by, Western and European powers. That is no mean an achievement by a personality such as Robert Mugabe in terms of his contribution to the development and political history or even economic growth of Africa. Of course, we have seen the aggressions that, arose against him, formidable forces from the West, Western powers, European powers, having to target the person of Robert Mugabe because of what he sought to achieve for Africa and for Zimbabwe. It tells you that he knew exactly what he was doing and he had his arithmetic somewhat right. I think that age dwindled his powers. And so the subtle removal of Mugabe from office could be attributed, to that. And so if you have witnessed what Zimbabwe used to be and where he took it from, and despite all the vile propaganda against his political stance, you would still realize that he constitutes about the greatest political contributor to the fortunes of Zimbabwe and the Zimbabwean economy. In terms of creation of jobs, attempts to industrialize Zimbabwe, at least at a very basic and fundamental level, inculcating rudimental, homegrown approaches to enhancing the GDP without very serious reliance on Western powers. I think that a real agenda beyond aid was piloted by the actions of Mugabe in Zimbabwe. And so there is every meaning to why even his corpse should be fought over by people in Zimbabwe. Whilst his last wishes were that he be buried in his village, others think that he had grown beyond ownership by his villagers alone to being a national asset, who should be giving that level of national, recognition, so that it contributes meaningfully to the political history of the Zimbabwean people. And so the National Heroes Shrine, set aside to bury, to witness the interment of heroes and people who have tremendously contributed to the development and political struggles of Zimbabwe. If you cannot have Mugabe there, the question is, who else? And so there are legitimate and genuine, concerns. Nonetheless, we are Africans. Let us agree that, look, no matter what it is, his village, which is the very beginning of his ancestry, is also critical. And so if he demanded and wished to be buried in his village, and that was done, won't we be, as it is, committing a sacrilege? We are to be exhuming his body and doing another interment right at the hero's shrine. I think that a host of other national monuments can be named after him or constructed in his honor, so that we can be able to remedy this whole situation and have a two-way win situation by both his villagers on the one hand and actually his entire country and their interests being served. So clearly, I will think that they should resort to very agreeable measures in terms of what will result into good yields for all of us. Else, countries such as that with quite a fragile security system, I wouldn't be surprised that in the end, KOD, in the end, you have a situation where clearly this can lead to some form of conflict between different pressure groups and even be translated into having ethnic implications. We will leave it here, and we study the situations as we go ahead.
Thank you, Elvis. Mr. Pratt, please.
Well, the issue of President Robert Mugabe has been turned into a complicated one. It shouldn't. The narrative is simple. Robert Mugabe, as a young man, was appalled by the violation of the rights of the people of Zimbabwe and Africa. He thought that Africans were not second-rate citizens of the world. Now, the Africans, like all people everywhere in the world, ought to have the right to choose their own leaders and to determine their destiny. Robert Mugabe believed very, very strongly that the lands in Africa belong to the African people. And therefore, the African people needed to take back the lands which had been stolen by a white settler colonial racist regime. Robert Mugabe believed that African resources ought to be owned by the African people and exploited for the benefit of the African people. And he was willing to take up arms to fight for the realization of these ideals. So Robert Mugabe was pitched against the interests of those who were responsible for the transatlantic slave trade, those who turned Africans into beasts of burden to make money. Robert Mugabe was pitched against those who promoted the colonial enterprise, who stole African resources for the development of capital in the West. Robert Mugabe was fighting alongside those who believe that Africans can manage their own affairs. This is the narrative. Now, the institutions, the racist institutions, the capitalist institutions, the anti-African institutions against whom Robert Mugabe was fighting, launched a counter-offensive. And in that counter-offensive, what they sought to do was to portray Robert Mugabe as a mindless dictator. those who instituted colonialism, those who benefited colonialism, how can they have the effrontery to accuse anybody of dictatorship? We went through colonialism too. We couldn't even elect our own leaders. The governor here was appointed by the Queen of England and imposed on us. We could not even appoint municipal and district chief executives. They were white people who were imposed on us. And they have the effrontery to accuse our leaders of dictatorship. Those who fought against them as dictators. If you are looking for dictators, what do you look for them? In Africa? Yes, some of the African leaders have misbehaved and so on. It is true. But look, if you look at how African leaders have misbehaved, African leaders who have rigged elections, African leaders who have stolen their people's money, and so on, none of those crimes committed by African leaders come anywhere near the crimes committed by the European empires. Look at King Leopold and what he did in the Congo. Which African leader has done 1% of what King Leopold did to the African people? Amputating their limbs because they were not able to supply him with sufficient rubber. Not that they didn't supply him with rubber, but the rubber they gave him, in his estimation, was not sufficient. They cut their limbs. Belgium continues to benefit from the killing of the Africans and so on. Today, we will sit down and allow Belgium to come to Africa and tell us who our dictators are. Belgium. I mean, incredible. Look at what the British did to the Kenyans. Look at how they slaughtered the Mau Mau movement. I had the privilege of having a conversation with Field Marshal, this woman who was their leader, Matumba. This was about 10 years ago, and tears started rolling down my eyes. Today, Britain is telling us about democracy. Britain, a beneficiary of colonialism. Britain, which waged a war of genocide in Kenya. Britain, which continued to support apartheid and the racist settler regime in Zimbabwe. What audacity! What right do they have? I'm not even talking about legal right. What moral authority do they have? Today, the existing international trade and information order, look at how it is shaped. To our disadvantage. Completely to our disadvantage. To maintain the slave relationship that we had with them. And they come here and they are telling us who our dictators are. And we follow them. And we believe them. I think that Mugabe is one of the people who has been treated most unfairly. First, by the Zimbabwean people, and secondly, by all of us on the African continent. Mugabe's place in history ought to be special. He fought for democracy. He was ready to die for democracy. He ain't nobody's dictator. Why? The Western countries imposed sanctions on Zimbabwe. What was the purpose? To make the Zimbabwean economy scream. To get the people of Zimbabwe angry with Mugabe. To create conditions which will lead to his overthrow. If the people of Zimbabwe suffered economic hardships and so on, it was largely because of the West who decided to strangulate the Zimbabwean economy. The West created the conditions for the suffering of the Zimbabwean people. Is it Robert Mugabe who imposed sanctions, economic sanctions on Zimbabwe? So let's look in the right direction. And it's because of all this that I am very, very uncomfortable about the needless and senseless battle over where he should be buried. If he's buried in the Heroes Park, and so what? What does that do to Zimbabwe? What does that do to all of us? If he's buried in his private house, so what? I think the most important thing is how to maintain the dignity of the Chisanos, of the Augustino Netos, of the Samora Machels, you know, how to write our history and tell our history in such a way that people like Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, like Patrice Lumumba, like Ahmed Sekou Touré, like Modibo Keita and so on, will continue to inspire us to take possession of what belongs to us and to exploit it for the benefit of our people. I don't know what is wrong with us in Africa. I don't know what is wrong with us in Africa. You know, all the things that should matter to us matter no more. All the things that we should be struggling for, we struggle no more for them. You understand? All the ideas of liberation and so on are being pushed to the sidelines and so on. And we are allowing the Western narrative, which continues to hold us as hewers of wood and drawers of water, well, how do they say it? To take over. Our own African narrative needs to be pushed with vigor. And I'm very, very, very unhappy about what is happening in Zimbabwe. I mean, Grace Mugabe, I think, is becoming a disaster. You understand? Why? She thinks that Robert Mugabe belongs to her. Robert Mugabe does not belong to Grace Mugabe. Robert Mugabe is an African symbol of struggle for equality, an African symbol of struggle for dignity, an African symbol of struggle for emancipation. Robert Mugabe is not the property of his family or his wife or his children. Robert Mugabe is much, much bigger than that. And that local inconsequential chief, you know, who also has dragged himself into the center of the controversy over Mugabe and so on, who does he think he is? Who is he?
Well, thank you. For those of you who just joined us, welcome aboard. And let me remind you again that we are streaming live on our Facebook page, which is Pan-African Television. We're also on YouTube, Pan-African Television. Leave your comments to our WhatsApp phone, and we will read it out. I think the number is on your screens now. You can just send your comments to that number, and we'll read it. Let's come back home to Ghana and look at some other very important issue. One issue which has been characterized by some mixed bag of reactions has got to do with the burning of excavators. The president has responded to the many questions raised by the Ghanaian people in respect of whether or not the burning of the excavators is the surest way of dealing with the menacing development of Galamsey. And Elvis Butter, since you are a member of the party in power, I think it's only right that I start with you. Sir, please.
Yes, I think that the general issue of Galamsey, its effect on our ecosystem, its dangers on our economy, and of course water bodies cannot be underestimated. So clearly there is no disagreement in this country over the menace of Galamsey and its related insurgencies. In fact, considering the direction of Galamsey, considering the nature in which it is conducted, it is clear that it has become a full-blown national security consideration. And not only a full-blown national security consideration, it is important that we are able to outline, identify, and appreciate its imminent danger, even on our foreign relations, with people within our own bloc, in Africa first of all, and most prevalent, how it poses a danger between our relationship and other countries in Asia and Europe, and even the West. We think that it is only Chinese who are in it. Yes, they are the dominant players within the landscape. But I tell you that there are more powerful Western powers behind mineral exploitations in this country, just as we witness in some African countries. And so if government is on its toes to fight such a critical issue that poses monumental danger to the future of this country by all standards, health-wise, ecologically, and even security, I think that it is a call we must all rise up, if it means even in arms, to fight and to win that battle. The battle against Galamsey, we must win or die, but to lose in that battle is not an option. And so, the narrowing it down, the trickle effects in trying to fight it, is a situation where you have a chain of conspirators by themselves being within the value benefit of Galamsey. That is where the danger lies. The people, we, in the political class, and those in the chiefdoms and chieftaincy class, including the able assistance of major security couples, and in some instances, religious personalities, becomes the basis for which we shoot our own selves in the foot. We all started with the consideration that it was best to have alternative livelihood sources for our teeming young men and women who are involved in Galamsey. But I think that an illegality is an illegality. And where it has gotten to, it is not only about the illegality of Galamseyers, which is the illegal version of small-scale mining, but more critical, KOD, is the danger of the lawlessness with which those even with legitimate licenses operate. It's not enough to have the law and the regulatory bodies agreeing with you that, look, we have licensed you to go mine. But in fact, on the very heart of the agreement, and he was a sector minister, at the very heart of the terms and conditions to which you are granted powers to go and mine, lies your obligation to be able to protect the ecology and the human settlements. Do we see that? We don't see that. Now, when we go to snatch equipments and to arrest people, the same politician who says let's fight Galamsey is the same politician who calls to say release ABC. So what kind of a fight is this? So we are just interested in setting up a fight and entertain ourselves with it? Away from that, when you go and seize excavators and other machinery, at the end of the day, we hear all manner of stories, leading major political powers sharing them. And the opposition will make these allegations. And those of us in power will also come out to say that no, we have not benefited any excavators or such machinery seized by the security people. And the question has always been, in that case, where are these seized equipments? Where in this country are they lodged? In the first place, where were our barriers? Where were our security officers when these equipments were on their way to the sites? Do you see the hypocrisy? So, if you analyze it from this angle, it gives some credibility to the crippling reason and rationale and action subsequently of burning these things right on the site. If it is burnt and destroyed, I don't accuse you that after seizing it, you are using it to your benefit. If it is burnt and destroyed, people will see that no, there is danger. Some of those excavators burnt are actually rented excavators by the people who were using them. So now when you go back and you have huge cost to pay, you know what it means not to return to Galamsey site. Burning these equipment is not, cannot, and will never be the best option. Watch it. It's not, cannot, and will never be the best approach in dealing with the matter. However, because of our own nature and because of the nature and attitude of the conspiracy, I think that it has made the burning and the destruction of these things a compelling and critical consideration in the fight against Galamsey. And so for me, if the president says that, look, if you think that your equipment have been bent, whilst you think you possess licenses or legitimacy to use them, go to court. They will put before the court the basis for which you were classified amongst those who should suffer such destruction. And if you have a superior argument as to why the destruction was an error of law and morality, then you will have your day in court. And if the state has to be built, the state will be built. Of course, that is a cost, but that is an intrinsic component of the very risk we have taken in fighting the canker of Galamsey. I think that in all these issues, the first thing we should burn is not the excavator. The first thing that must be burnt in our struggle against Galamsey is the attitude of politicians, chiefs, and security personnel. That's the first thing we must burn. How do we burn that? Let us not shield people. It is enough for one high-level security couple to lose his job for wrongly meddling in issues of Galamsey. It is enough. It is enough that one political leader is fired and may be put before court and jailed because of this. It is enough if one chief is humiliated and that triggers customary actions for distulment or diskinment. That will be enough. If we are able to burn in these three dimensions and we proceed to burn excavators, trust me, it's going to work. I think that, look, we want money, but our money accumulated will be of no essence if it cannot buy us water. Very soon, Ghana will start the importation of water if we don't take care. We will import water in this country to drink, drinking water. Ghana will import drinking water if we do not bridle how these things are done. I think that if there cannot be a formula to the fight against Galamsey, there shouldn't be a formula to, if there cannot be a formula to how we mine and deal with our reserves, there shouldn't be a formula in how we fight the criminals. I know that Operation Halt will soon introduce another phase, which is target, shoot, and kill. I think that if we bury a few lives of those who are too recalcitrant, you are arrested today or you are chased away, the next day the same people are back. Let's advise a few of them so that if we advise them away from the system and God will have the opportunity to put them to judgment, it will only help but entrench the old African proverb that the memory of the dead can only be a warning to the living. It's sad. And for me, discussing this matter gives me mixed feelings. Why? Because genuinely KOD, some of the teeming young men and women who have put themselves into this whole Galamsey thing have done so not out of luxury but compelling need for survival. And who shouldn't survive? Everybody deserves the chance to survival. That is why it should be bridled, not stopped. It should be controlled, not eradicated.
Right.
And so I think that the go to court call by the president is in the right direction by all standards, except that it is at the very basic level.
Right.
There are more we need to do, and if needs be, engagement. In all this, the Chinese and other foreigners, Galamsey kingpins, who are highly at the center of this matter, can we not, beyond burning of their equipment, because these are powerful people who control finances, burning the excavator is not enough. How much is an excavator relative to the capital wealth of those people? But if we begin the next phase of arrest, and if the arrest can lead to investigations, to knowing at whose instance the danger is happening, then we deal with them. It will help. As for the foreign nationals, if we must introduce target, shoot and kill, it must be them. You see, it is only in this country, we all travel. It's only in this country people come in and walk the way they want to walk, talk the way they want to talk, do the things they do, and get up the day they want to go and go away after causing trouble. You have been to other parts of the world. Can you do that? Even healthcare, elsewhere, if you have not met immigration standards, and I would have loved to discuss that vis-a-vis the immigration issue, but because of other panelists, there's no time. But look, even healthcare in some countries, you cannot access it if your documentations and permits of stay are not really correct. How much more working and going beyond normal daily struggles to engaging in work that constitutes a daily illegality? You'll be hanged there. Nobody will even hear of you. You will end there. Why Ghana? Because of foolish leadership, and because of stupid regulations that can never be enforced, and because of the hopelessness of security experts and security organizations, we have found ourselves where we are. In the name of hospitality, we are hospitable. We are noted for being hospitable. Okay, if you do not know how to segregate between what you must accommodate and what you must not accommodate, be ready to welcome any visitor. A landlord who is so quick to extend benevolence into passerbys into his home, risk sharing his wife with them.
Right.
And that is the situation we are in now. So I ended there.
Right. So, sure. I mean, you've stated the predisposing factors for which reason most young people find themselves on the field to mine, etc. But you failed to look at the other aspect of the conversation, what is also very incidental to the generality of the conversation, where we do know that, for instance, your party people are actively involved in Galamsey, and nothing has been done about it. I mean, burning of excavators does not solve the problem if the people who are the heart of the activity have not been arrested, for instance. And these people find themselves in your party.
I find it rather worrying.
For this quick commercial break.
Yeah.
When I come back, I'll let you answer that before.
Okay, that's fine.
Quick commercial break. Stay with us.
Every day, he has a drink filled with malt. Every day, he has a drink filled with malt and milk. Every day, he has a drink filled with malt, milk, and cocoa. Every day, he needs the nutritious goodness of Milo. Milo, the energy to go further. This advert is FDA approved. Every day, he looks after his brother and chases a bus. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, and learns new things. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, learns new things, and gets back home. Every day he looks after his brother, chases a bus, learns new things, gets back home, and helps his mom. Phew. That's why every day he needs his cup of Milo filled with the nutritious goodness of malt, milk, and cocoa. Milo, the energy to go further.
From Nestle.
This advert is FDA approved.
Thank you very kindly for staying tuned into Pan-African Television. If you're watching us, it's the News Review segment on Pan-African Television. We're talking about the ban of excavators. The fact that the president is saying that all those who have been affected by that singular act must go to court. Elvis has advanced his argument in respect of that subject matter. But I pose a question to him, and we demand answers from him. Sir, please.
Yes, beyond your demand, it is obligatory on me critically to to actually correct the notion that it is just my party's people. Look, Galamsey has become an activity that engages powerful people from all the political divides, including my party. A point I admitted in my submission to you this morning. And I am saying that, look, who is not aware of the issue, and I'm putting a case in focus, the issue of, is it extra gold?
Yeah. Kids.
A company purported to be owned largely by Kate Jamfua, the national women organizer of the New Patriotic Party. On the 10th of May, on the 9th of May, I was in attendance at a National Executive Committee meeting with His Excellency the President. And he warned and cautioned, just as he has already, and I'm saying this because he has already mentioned that in public, that even if members of his government are complicit, bring them before him, he's going to deal with them. That warning is not only a public show, but a warning even in critical meetings with party leadership and government leadership. The president have made it clear. If it was the interest of government to specially conduct a segregation to protect people involved in this matter who are affiliates of the NPP, then we wouldn't have had a situation where Extra Gold would have its equipment bent down even though they have licenses. And beyond that, an investigative committee has been set to investigate into the matters. And if further sanctions even have to be taken, they have to, because it is more criminal.
Right.
If you have licenses and you go and do things that are adverse to the admonishment or the very regulations on which basis you were granted licenses. So clearly, it is the case, but this government is exonerated on this singular example.
I see. Well, I'm coming to Honorable this episode. I'm failing to follow that logic, because you can't ban excavators before it's investigated. If you know that a person is complicit, why don't you jail her? Anyway, Honorable, let me come to you.
You talk about jailing.
You see, I've now come to the firm conclusion that our president, Nana Addo Dankwa Akuffo Addo, is a celebrated tyrant and dictator. He does not believe in the laws of this country. He swore the constitution of this country. He swore on the Bible to protect, preserve the constitutions of this country and uphold the laws of the country. Part of the laws of the country are the Minerals and Mining Act. The Minerals and Mining Act is the law that deals with illegalities or regulates the mining sector. Nowhere in the Minerals Act, Mining and Minerals Act, is there a provision that warrants, authorizes the burning of excavator or any equipment. The Minerals and Mining Act, as amended, lays down about 7 steps to deal with illegal mining. The president swears to protect the laws of the country and says that no, for this law, I will not respect it. And if you think I'm not respecting the law, go to court. I'm telling you that if this were other jurisdictions, this would have been an impeachable offense. Because you cannot treat the laws of the country with impunity and still be the president of the country. How do you say that you want to protect, preserve, and defend the Constitution? Article 9, Article 11 of the Constitution includes all the laws of this country. Why will you defend the Constitution if you can treat the laws of the country with impunity? I at least expected the president to say that. It's very unfortunate. It sends a very bad signal about the status of the president vis-a-vis the rule of law and the enforcement of laws in this country. Very bad. Look, the president has invited all of us to support him to fight illegal small-scale mining. We have a duty as citizens of this country to help him, because we are in this together. So the president should not insult us. We are in this matter together. Mr. President, our water bodies are being polluted. Our forest covers are being destroyed at alarming rates. Ghana is losing its forest the fastest within the West African sub-region. People living in mining areas where illegal small-scale mining is taking place, where substances like mercury and cyanide are being used, are exposed to the health hazards of those chemicals. So we can't remain unconcerned. That is why we will lend you our support. But please don't insult us. Because if we are saying that just follow the law, you don't point to the court to us. I think the president has a responsibility to show why, in his view, there is a different law that probably we are not averting our mind to. And that is warranting the burning of excavators. That's what presidents do. That's what leadership is about. But don't tell us to go to court to challenge your executive authority under Article 58. Don't tell us that. That's an insult and a treatment with contempt of the people who think that you are not law-abiding. Look, this fanciful, and last 2 weeks, somebody got a judgment debt of $5 million against the burden of excavators. The court had awarded $5 million damages, $5 million damages against the state for the burden of excavators. Is the $5 million going to come out of the pocket of Akuffo? Is it going to come out of the pocket of any other person? That road that is lying from Canada to Gushugu, $5 million could go a long way to fixing that road. That nurses who are, or those nurses who are crying for payment of their allowances, $5 million could go a long way. That school building that is crumbling, $5 million could go a long way. That village that is struggling to have potable drinking water and is struggling and competing for the use of water with animals, that $5 million could build them a healthy dam. So we have other uses for $5 million. It should not be used to satisfy our thoughtless actions, to pay damages for our thoughtless actions. That's not what we should use $5 million for. So, Mr. President, we won't go to court. You are the president. You are the law. You tell us that you are the law. Carry on. But we know that when judgment does come, we will hold you responsible. Because you have said that you will submit yourselves to the laws of this country and you will suffer the penalty for breach of those laws. You submit yourself for any penalty for those breach of laws. We hold you personally responsible. Why? Why? Why will the president say that? Why? Is it the arrogance of power? Is it the arrogance of power? Because his ministers are saying that? If your minister environment says that and your minister defense says that, does it make it right? Do you have to give approval, presidential approval to what your ministers are saying. We simply are saying that galamsey should not exist in this country, but use the regular, lawful, appropriate, necessary means to fight it. And that in fighting it, get all the stakeholders. We told you that there is no land in Ghana that is not owned by somebody. There is no land in Ghana that a person or group of persons do not exercise political supervision. Where are those people? Where is the district chief executive in the equation of things? Where is the district police commissioner in the equation of things? Where is the district BNI officer? Where is the district mining inspector in this scheme of things? Why are they failing? Is it because some powerful people are behind, or they have been so compromised? Is it not? Can't you give them some key performance indicators, and make it obligatory on their parts to stop illegal small-scale mining within the areas that they operate? And if they fail, apart from the public servants, the political appointees will lose their positions, and the public servants will suffer consequences for their failure. Let people be responsible for their actions and perform up to expectation. And bed of excavators, what will it bring? And people will still buy excavators. Yesterday I was watching a documentary at Ninsi mines. The miners they said they won't go away. They're digging into mines. They're digging into concessions. Let's get serious in this country, but let the president show leadership and direction in this matter.
Yeah, Elvis, you are just telling me you want to respond to something quickly.
Yes, and you see,
just one
yes, just 1 minute. KOD, my worry is the nature of our own laws crafted to deal with this matter. And thankfully, this panel is made up of people with the deepest understanding of matters of laws. But if you go to, I think, Section 17 of the Minerals and Mining Act, unless I'm not taking an isolated understanding of it though, but it does appear to be a section of the law that actually even grants as a matter of right for people who have been able to obtain, water licenses under the water rights to draw and obtain water even from the rivers as they are doing for the purpose of the mining. Is it a lack of understanding on my part, or there is the need for a review?
I think we need clarity, because it said, let me read it out. Subject to obtaining the requisite approvals or licenses under the Water Resources Commission Act 1996, a holder of a mineral right may, for purposes of or ancillary to the mineral operations, obtain, divert, impound, convey, and use water from a river, stream, underground reservoir, or water course within the land, the subject of the mineral right. Yes. That's what it means.
But what does it mean? It's simply a regulatory procedure. That's what they say, Water Resources Commission. That's what they didn't say, Minerals Commission. That's what they didn't say, Forestry Commission or Environmental Protection Agency. These are all regulatory.
We need further clarity, but let me come to
but let me just because that is
right,
so.
Okay, sure, okay.
The Water Resources Commission, in giving the licenses, is supposed or will have to give you conditions under which the water can be drawn. And if the water is drawn, because there's nowhere that you can have mining without water. If the water is drawn, before you pump the water back onto the water body, it must be treated. Okay, that's why we have dams. That's why we have tailings. So you treat the water before it is pumped back. So yes, it's a combination of failure of regulatory supervision over the activities of established or licensed miners and the regulatory bodies. But you have to use water, you have to treat the water before you pump it back.
Okay, I'll look for that act, but let me come to Mr. Pratt on this subject.
Yes, okay.
Sir, please.
Well, there's no doubt at all that the government knows that it is behaving in a very lawless manner. They director of communications of the New Patriotic Party, my good friend Mugabe Asamoah, actually addressed a press conference last week. And this is what he said, and this is in quotes. I'm not adding even a comma. The key argument is that extraordinary measures overriding current legal rights are permissible if the intent and action is in the line of duty and will preserve the larger public interest. This is a quotation from Mugabe Asamoah. There's another quotation which is interesting. He says, even though there will be innocent victims in the government's actions, the likelihood of innocent victims ought not to stop the state from exercising its authority in the interest of preserving our common heritage, be it in the cleaning of Accra or battling Galamsey. So it's clear. Government itself admits illegality. Yeah. It's very clear. Because if you look at all of our mining laws, there's nothing in our mining laws which suggests that soldiers and policemen can seize any equipment, including shovels, and burn them. The law is clear. The law is clear that only a court can order the seizure of equipment. And indeed, the law is clear on processes by which the state will come to acquire those seized items and so on. What is happening, as admitted by Mugabe Asamoah, is completely illegal. There's some confusion, there's some confusion because he says that, if we exercise our authority, no government, no state institution has any authority above the law. Authority is conferred by law. You understand? So if you decide to violate the law, you have no authority. No government, no state institutions, no organization has any authority beyond what is prescribed by law. So you either want to be in a law-governed society or you don't want to be in a law-governed society. If you want to be in the jungle, fine, you can go to the jungle. Now, I was reading the newspaper reports today, and I think my other panelists appear to have gotten something wrong. Especially Elvis. The claim is that the president said that those who feel aggrieved should go to court. No, that's not what the president said. Read it again. The president is saying that those who disagree with him should go to court. That would include Occupy Ghana. Occupy Ghana is not engaged in Galamsey. They are not victims. The excavators have not been burnt. But they are saying that what the government is doing is an illegality. And the president says that if they think that what he's doing is an illegality, they should go to court. Meanwhile, the director of communications of the NPP confirms that it's an illegality. All of us should be worried about the current situation in which government knows that it is doing something which is illegal. And when its attention is drawn to its illegality, it simply says go to court. We will do whatever we like, we will burn excavators, we will go against the law, in the knowledge that if we go to court, the courts will side with our illegality. That's scary. That's really scary. When the executive actually admits that it's engaged in illegality and challenges citizens to go to court, knowing or believing that the courts would uphold illegality, we must be worried and frightened. Because the whole system of justice then has been discredited. The whole system of justice, who gives us some little comfort that when our leaders misbehave, they'll be called to order, crumbles in our face. And that's my worry. Where do we go? The courts? These courts? These courts that have given so much confidence to the executive, that they will support the executive either way, any way, whether it commits illegality or not. They will support them. I mean, I am worried. And I'm very deeply worried. Listen to Yabuabia Samoa again. I mean, and this quote is very important. It says, even though there will be innocent victims in the government's actions, the likelihood of innocent victims ought not to stop the state from exerting its authority. Hey, innocent victims, it doesn't matter. We will run over you, will violate your rights, because we have an unlawful authority. Because any authority which is not vested by law doesn't exist. It's illegal. Look, what's the difference between this and a military regime? Even military regimes find it necessary to pass decrees to give themselves authority and to clothe their actions with some form of legality. But what we are getting now, according to Yabuabia Samoa, is that we will take the authority even without law. And we would exercise it unlawfully. And then the president says, after we have done that, if you like, go to court. Because we will win in court whether what we are doing is illegal or not. What? Is this Ghana? Is this the Ghana that my forebears fought to build? Is this Ghana? Is this the rule of law that Dankwa wrote about? And so on. Is this the rule of law? Yes, we are engaged in an illegality, but if you don't like it, simply go to hell. I'm worried. Now, this constant refrain, go to court, go to court, go to court, is undermining the credibility of our judicial system. Yeah. Yeah. You understand? It's undermining. Yes, it's as if to tell citizens that, look, whether you like it or not, we will do it. And going to court is a waste of time. That's the impression many citizens are getting. And it should be worrying for all of us. There can be no sensible reason for burning excavators. There is no excuse. Quite apart from the fact that it is illegal, it is also illogical. Burning of excavators is a bloody waste of everything. Look, we are told that excavators cost up to $500,000. That's what we are told. So you take an equipment which is worth $500,000, which is needed for national development and so on, and you set fire to it. After burning it, we will use $500,000 to go and buy the same equipment to come and use in our development. This is very sensible. What is the sense in this? District assemblies, municipal assemblies, all of them need excavators. You get excavators and you burn them. And then you spend the money we don't have, the money we are struggling and so on, to go and buy excavators and use them again. You must be a very sensible person. Your sense, they pass all we. I mean, how is that? What is the sense in this? And then we are told that, oh, if you don't burn the excavators, they will come back and use them. They will come back and use them. How will they come back and use them? You see, I hope that we are listening to ourselves. We have been told by the task force that anytime they go to the site, they are not able to arrest the operators because somebody gives them the hint before they arrive. Who? When the task force goes to meetings, who sits in those meetings? Do you see me in those meetings? Is Honorable in those meetings? So if there's any leakage from their meeting, it is from themselves, and it shows the link.
I also attended.
So if there's any leakage, the leakage must be coming from those who went to the meeting. Yeah. And the leakage simply indicates that those who are supposed to fight Galamsey are linked with the Galamseyers. That's all. You understand? And then they say that, oh, when they go there, the people remove the motherboard. And that's why they bend them. They remove the motherboard so you bend the machine. Make sure that the information doesn't get to the people before you arrive. If you make sure that there's no leakage of information, nobody will remove the motherboard before you get there. Simple, common sense. Common sense, ordinary common sense. No, sir, ordinary common sense. When you meet and you are moving to a location, your own people go and tell the Galamseyers, so by the time you get there, the motherboard has been removed and therefore you burn it. What stupidity is that? Stop leaking information and the motherboard will not be removed. That's all. Is this too hard to understand?
Well, thank you, Mr. Pratt. Yeah, I've seen some messages. Let me read a few of them, after which we will discuss the immigration saga. So, few messages here via Facebook. Then we'll discuss the other issue. Oh, what's happening? Okay, right. Where is it? Okay, okay, right, I have it. This one says, KOD, war is war. The only good human being is a dead one. George Orwell. The Galamsey fight is really a war, and the military knows better. Joseph Agbeko Yadogla says, good morning, KOD. Please, did I hear Elvis saying shoot and kill Galamseyers? Under which law is he making this assertion? Nobody has the right to take the life of a fellow human being. Come again, Mr. Elvis. Amofa Felicity says, KOD, good morning to you and your panelists. My suggestion is if the government is serious about this Galamsey fight, the culprits must be sent to court and jailed. That will scare people. Felicity Obaya from Kumasi. Fuseni Zukufil, Sani Turawa, Asaman Kese. Good morning, KOD, and your panelists, especially Mr. Pratt. KOD, the problem of the problem is... Well, it's not Dankwa Akuffo Addo's NPP government. Honestly, they are very deceitful, and burning of excavators is irresponsible because it can be used by the government after seizure. Good morning. Yes, good morning. Musa Suli, Apig. It's laughable, Elvis is saying that the president says even if his party member does wrong, the person should be brought to book so that he will deal with him. Are we kids in Ghana? Or what kind of, are we kids in Ghana? Are we not witnessing so many crimes in your party? All right. Ali Johnson says, KOD, good morning to you. This government is totally confused in every aspect of its governance. Koshi Badohu. Mr. President, if the burning of excavators is justified by their illegal presence on site, then not roadworthy cars on our streets should also be burnt. Anto Osei says, go to court. After stealing everything with family and friends and knowing that the Galamsey business is no more going to be attractive, the only way to compensate party members is to burn excavators for them to go to court to claim huge judgment debts. Somebody goes to respond to that and says, well, that makes sense. You are indeed a wise man. That is a trick. Mohammed Ghazali says, it is also legal for government to seize and use people. Is it also legal for government to use and seize people's excavators? Perhaps my honorable former MP can help. Ghazali. Tamale. The law provides for that. That's what the law says. Right. Okay. Right. Okay. So these are some of the messages that I got from Facebook. I'll read a lot more of the messages on the show. But let's discuss the immigration issue. Honorable Minister Hussein, respectfully. Well, the immigration issue is a straightforward issue.
It just shows that the government clearly is not following through what it says it wants to do. Immigration officers were sent to border towns to try to help stem the tide of criminal influence into this country. And when I say criminal influence, not financial influence, the movement of people from neighboring countries into Ghana who are potential criminals. And so, and when officers of the security services or even officers in the public service are sent out to do work, they are paid out of station allowance, and they are provided for. In fact, in some cases, they are even fed because they are going for special duties.
Right.
Now, what the immigration officers are saying is that since they left, they have been paid for only about 4 months. And all other months, 2 months. You know, so you see, I'm sorry, immigration officers, I said 4 months, 2 months. And all other months, they have been feeding themselves. They have not been given accommodation. Their out of station allowances is not coming. Nothing is coming. So why did you send them there in the first place? You see, that is why I have a difficulty with the way we strategize and plan for the protection of this country. You are sending immigration officers with a defined mission. Okay, prevent criminals. And you know criminals are criminals are criminals. Now they are coming into this country for the purposes of committing crime. You send the officers to prevent the coming into this country of those persons. Meanwhile, you impoverish the officers. What do you think you are exposing them to? Corruption. Corruption. Temptation. So they can't feed themselves. So now they will now be willing participants in the game.
Yep.
This is the problem. And you, when you are not making progress, you say, well, guys, we're not making progress. Who caused them? Before you send soldiers out, you ought to have budgeted on how you will get them to work and have job satisfaction. And I'm sorry, this government appears to be failing in all departments.
Right. Your ex-gratia has not been paid, has it?
My
ex-gratia.
It has not been paid.
It's not been paid, I know. You people are struggling. Elvis.
They shouldn't pay the ex-gratia now.
It's not only MPs who take ex-gratia.
Yes, it's not only MPs.
All the ministers, the 125 ministers Nana Akuffo appointed, plus Nana Akuffo himself and his vice.
They will receive their ex-gratia.
Good. I want you to make it clear.
That is a lot of money.
Yeah. So it's not only MPs.
The national interest.
I think it's more than the 170 million euros.
Yes, it is more than.
So I don't want you to limit it to MPs.
Interest, what happens if this category of people come to say that, for love of Ghana, we've dashed the ex-gratia.
Those of us who are no longer
having received salary throughout, we have dashed the ex-gratia. Anyway, well, I think that, like I told you, for me, the only very serious topic this morning that deserves our attention than all others is this issue of immigration officers. And it is so because of the sensitive nature of the relationship between border controls and state security. At a time where the threat of terrorism and insurgency within the West African sub-region has become an escalating and bedeviling phenomena, you don't joke with your borders. In fact, the happenings actually lays good foundation for us to make immigration and other border control agencies more lucrative, to allow for more motivation of the workers to do what is expected of them, go the extra mile and achieve results. When you joke with these people, they will actually invite what you don't want into the country. Dissatisfying border guards, border control officers at the entry point is a direct invitation of terrorists into your country. A man in need is always a hungry man, and a hungry man is an angry man, and an angry man can give up everything. It's foolish not to pay these people. Very foolish. If we are to analyze it from the security point of view, it's a foolish risk we have found ourselves in. Watch it. This is an operation. I think they are stay at certain borders, Apulawo, Hamele, and other 2 critical borders. Was at the instance of Operation Calm Life. Who drew the operational strategy and the tactics for Operation Calm Life without an accompanying budget? Who did that? I'm interested in that officer. Who did this? And you see, if the officer have done that, who is that minister responsible for working out the budget? There should be a ministry with oversight responsibility for this. Was that ministry not allotted budgetary allocation? And if they did, why did that not encapsulate the 4 months operations of Calm Light? Massa, the man is in uniform at the border and someone have chopped the money in Accra. Huh? Uniform is at the border, suit and necktie has squandered the money in Accra. That is what it means. Look, a 4 months operation, they were giving their allowances for 2 months. And now they are running the 11th month of the operation,
which was 4 months.
Without any hint of their allowances. They are now feeding themselves from personal funds. Those are the worries.
Matao.
So, if they are supposed to calm lives in anger, KOD, calming lives in anger,
it's more disastrous.
I tell you, you can understand what the redefinition of calmness will be in this case. It means that these people will let loose their guards at the borders. And it is a time where they will fall prey to seductive packages and bribes from all manner of people and groups who want to have access to those borders. Who knows so far the extent to which they have compromised in some of these borders? Look, extra religious fanaticism, extra religious dominance in the form of terror is just in Mali and Burkina Faso, which is a 3-minute walk through the Hamel border into Ghana. And in another 15 minutes, they are in Nandon. Latest in 25 minutes, they are in Natoli. And 9 hours from Nadoli, they are in Accra. That is how fast terrorism can break down this country if you have this kind of security agencies. At a time where police officers at the barriers have stopped taking boots, they will stand with one driver who has no license, and 20 cars will pass uninspected. You see, so we have a problem, and this is a matter that should not be political. This is a matter that should wake up the appropriate government agencies and, institutions with oversight on this matter to act, and to do so with agency.
Right. Saim says, obviously, you're on point. I'm with you, bro. Mr. Pratt, please.
Well, I think the matter is very simple. I mean, these days, Kwekwe stories get exposed by themselves. The Electoral Commission comes to us and says, we've made so much savings. And the very next minute, workers of the Electoral Commission come out and says, we haven't been paid our allowances since December.
Yeah, that's true.
So how do you make savings? Yes, how do you make savings when you can't pay the workers and so on? Then, the Statistical Service comes and tells us that inflation has gone down. And that inflation has gone down largely because of the success of planting for food and jobs. And that food prices have come down. Then you go to your street corner to buy kinke, and the price of kinke has gone from 1 cedi to 2 cedis. So you're sitting there asking yourself, this Kwekwe Nancy story, Who is manufacturing them? You understand? We say that the economy is doing so well, everything is fine, and we can't pay workers. You can't pay your nurses. Your nurses' allowance are in huge arrears. Per diem to your immigration officers are in huge arrears. Nursing trainees cannot get allowances and so on. So these Kwekwanansi stories, when are they going to stop? But it accumulated. And they haven't finished paying all. So look, I beg you, all of you in government and propagandists and communicators and so on, please save us the Kwekwanansi stories, because you insult us by telling us these Kwekwanansi stories. When you tell us the Kwekwanansi stories, at least there's the supposition that you expect us to believe them. And you can only expect us to believe them if you think that we are stupid. So stop insulting us with your Kwekwanansi stories. We have some small intelligence to be able to tell that these stories are useless stories and that they do not paint the reality. That's all.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Pratt. Good morning to you, Orije Babrin at Car Price. Good morning to you. You are watching. Good morning to you, KOD, and your panelists. Is the Operation Galam stop saying that they have not found or seized any gold on the mining sites and in any of their operations? Adam from Cape Coast is asking this question. Asanko in Santa Maria says, this is what happens when there is a deceptive and arrogant leadership in place. Confusion and crisis due to dishonesty and incompetence everywhere. KOD, good morning to you. I'm watching you live from Togo. I love your program. Every day I watch it. KOD, I feel very sad and emotional about this so-called fight against Galamsey. The president's justification of burning the excavators is unfortunate and embarrassing. Why are the couples behind the illegal activities left off the hook? Exactly my question. MPP party chairmen and women organizers behind Galamsey, are they above the law? And when civil Ghanaians chant fix the country, your appointees respond to us to fix ourselves. This alone and the justification given by the president yesterday explains clearly the government and its officials are deeply behind Galamsey. Felix A.Y., Ghana Technology University College, Tesano. Good morning, KOD. EC was given budgetary allocation and yet has not paid us since 2019. Elvis should take note of this scam of regime. Salam Atwak in Boko. President Akuffo Addo just wanted another 4 years to rule Ghana. The reason he beefed up security at the time is to prevent some people from registering and voting, especially those of us from the voter region. What they want, they've gotten. So they've left them at the borders. We should all be worried and scared. I salute you all, especially Mr. Pratt. Master leadership is keen in attitude and behavioral development. We are forgetting the charity begins at home. Whatever leadership does have a replication effect. Okay, right. Trainer from Accra. Okay, where's the message? Okay, Nelson from Nkwanta. Good morning to you. It is wrong to burn the excavators because it can be used for constructing one village, one dam. Vision of the government. Thank you, Mr. Pratt. Thank you, Honorable Inusa Fuseni. Thank you, Elvis Yabuta. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.